Today we're going to look at solving quadratic equations using a square root method. Now, we're going to learn a couple methods of solving these, but today I want you to focus on square roots. Let's recall a couple things. First of all, you know that the square root of 49 is 7. You've learned that in elementary school, and the reason is obviously because 7 times 7 is 49. What you may not realize or remember is the square root of 49 can also be negative 7. Since, following the same thinking, negative 7 times negative 7 is a positive 49. Now we're going to write these two answers as one answer. So the square root of 49 is now going to be written as a plus or minus 7. So you read this as plus or minus 7, indicating that there are two answers for that problem. Now let's take a look at two ways to solve these. It's going to be a two-step process. One thing you're going to do is isolate the squared term, and then you're going to take the square root of both sides. Here's an example. The x squared minus 100 equals 0. What you're going to do is isolate this x squared just like we did in basic equation solving. So you add 100 to both sides. That eliminates this 100, and you're going to have x squared equals 100. Well, what number to the second power is 100? You would be thinking 10, but don't forget that it's plus or minus 10. So a positive 10 as well as a negative 10. Here's another example. 2x squared equals 32. To isolate the x squared, divide by 2 on both sides. X squared is 16. And again, you get two answers. X equals the positive or negative 4. Let's look at this problem. 2x squared minus 50. This is going to be two steps. Always keep in mind that you're going to isolate the x squared. So to do that, let's add the 50 to both sides. And now we have 2x squared equals 50. To eliminate the 2, divide both sides by 2. And again, we get x squared equals 25. This is where the square root comes into play. Take the square root of this side as well as the square root of 25. Always remembering that there are two square roots of 25, the positive 5 and negative 5. It's always a good idea to check your answers. To do that, take the original problem, and let's take the answer of x equals positive 5. We will put the positive 5 into the value of x. So we'll have 2 times 5 squared minus 50 equals 0. Don't forget to do the order of operations of 5 squared is 25. 2 times 25 is 50, subtract 50, and it does indeed equal 0. Same process for negative 5, so be sure to check both answers because you did get two answers. 2 times negative 5 squared minus 50 equals 0. 2 times negative 5 squared, remember, will be a positive 25 minus 50. And then again, you'll get 50 minus 50 does indeed equal 0. So that would tell you then that both of those answers are correct. This problem, you're going to need to take this, the first step would be to take the square root of both sides. The reason is you cannot eliminate the 5 because it is part of the entire squared term. So, here in red I showed you, you would take the square root of this quantity as well as this quantity, keeping things equal on both sides of the equation. The square root of x minus 5 squared is x minus 5. Square root of 49 is the positive 7 as well as the negative 7. Now this develops into two equations. One equation uses the value of positive 7, so x minus 5 equals a positive 7, but we cannot forget that there's a negative 7 as well. So now you have another equation of x minus 5 equals negative 7. I did a diagram to show you to split that into two, so now that you can solve those independent of each other. Add 5 to both sides on this equation to get a value of 12, and then on this one add the 5 to both sides, remembering that's a negative 7 plus 5 is a negative 2. So these are the two solutions for this original problem. Again, always a good idea to check. So I'm going to take the original problem and put in the first value we found, which is 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. 7 squared is 49, which does equal the 49. and then take the other value of negative 2 minus 5 becomes a negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. Be careful if you put the negative 7 squared into your calculator, because remember, with the negative 7 here, that needs to go into parentheses when you put it into a calculator. This example is similar to the last one, but I've added the step because we have a squared quantity, but we also have minus 81. So what you once again want to do is isolate the squared term. So we are going to eliminate the 81 first by adding 81 to both sides. This isolates the squared term. This is the squared term I'm speaking about. It is at this point that you're going to take the square root of both sides. So a square root here will give you 2x minus 1. And also, square root of 81 is going to give us the plus or minus 9. Again, this is the situation you have where it's going to split into two possible solutions. One equation with the positive 9 and one equation with the negative 9. Again, to solve each of those independent of each other, on this one you'll add 1 and then divide by 2 to get an answer of 5. On this one you add 1, watching your signs, to get a negative 8 on this right side, and divide by 2 to get negative 4. Again, always a great idea to check. And what you're going to do here is take, again, your original problem, start right from the beginning, and take your two solutions. The x equals 5 value, 2 times 5 is 10, subtract, and then square it, and then also take the negative 4, put it in for the x. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, negative 1 squared minus 8. And again, negative 9 squared, remember, is a positive 81, minus 81 equals 0. So that's an overview of the square root solutions to solving these quadratic equations. And we will go on to, in other lessons then, to learn other methods. But this would be the first one I'd like to have you learn.